So I'm going to take you this evening along a journey of wellness. We're going to address a whole lot of issues, right from work-life balance, pursuing your hobby as a career, and much, much more. And we're going to get some solutions by their inspirational lifestyle. So I think I'm going to start my conversation with my first question. As busy professionals, Shabana and Javed sir, you both have versatile style of working and have always been in the spotlight. How then have you both lived a near-perfect happy marriage for 30 years? I'll open it for anyone to talk.
We have a really happy marriage because we rarely meet. We both are extremely busy. We do things together and separately. But I think what we share in common is a worldview. We come from the same kind of backgrounds, have been given the same values by our parents. And I think above all else, we share a very healthy friendship. So Javed is very fond of saying that Shabana is such a good friend of mine that even marriage couldn't destroy our friendship. The fact is, I think that because we respect each other's space, we respect each other as individuals, and there is really no role playing. I don't play the wife, and he doesn't play the husband. He doesn't have any complaints about my not playing the wife, but I would, that he played the husband at least a little bit. And a little bit of story I have to tell all of you. I have many, many young girls coming up to me and saying, he's such a romantic poet. He writes such romantic lyrics. He must be such a romantic husband. And I say, he doesn't have a single romantic bone in his body.
Aww.
And Javed will give you the answer for why he says that. Javed sahab, aap bataiye.
Very difficult to believe that.
Yeah, in one of those interviews, Shabana said that, and the interviewer looked at me with horror, and she asked me, is it true? So I tried to explain it, that listen, people who work in circus, and particularly who work on trapeze, don't keep hanging upside down at home.
Cop out, cop out, cop out.
But let me extend on a more serious note, as a matter of fact. I mean, this husband and wife and marriage, these words have carried a lot of moss over a period of time since they are rolling down the centuries. But ultimately, what are we talking about? We are talking about two people living together. How can they be happy? Obviously, they can only be happy if both of them are happy. It's as simple as that. This word husband and wife, these words are heavy. They have taken certain traditions, certain values over the years, which have honestly have become largely obsolete. So if we accept that the other person, whether the husband or the wife, the spouse, is as much a person as I am, that person has as much right to ambitions, dreams, endeavors as I have. And however close we may be, everybody has certain private space that only belongs to that person, and that has to be respected. None of us is the star, none of us is a satellite. So the moment we accept that, I think situation becomes easy. That's not a problem. But when we expect more than we are willing to offer from any side, in any relationship, that goes sour.
So Shabana, do you give him that space?
Sorry, what did you say?
Do you give him the space that he's talking about?
I can't help it, I never meet him. So he gets his space in any case.
That's true. More often than not, our relationship is through a satellite. That's true. But in spite of that, ultimately both of us know that whenever we need each other, we'll be there. And we are there. So that's important. Otherwise, generally, people are together all the time, only when they are needed.
But I think that there is a change in society, and we are going through a position of transition. And I think that causes a lot of confusion. Because earlier it was very clear that women were meant to be at home and look after the children and the house while the man went out and earned a living for the family. So there were very clear divisions. These divisions no longer are valid, particularly in the urban space. So both husband and wife are working. And whose responsibility is the question? Why is it that parenting continues to be only the woman's responsibility? Why is it that if a child were to fall ill, it would be taken for granted that it's the mother who would stay at home? Why is it taken for granted that if a woman is in a very important position, let's say in a bank, and if she were to host some people for dinner, the husband would never dream of coming with her. But if he had an important dinner and he had to take some people out, it would be automatically expected that the wife would accompany. And I think this causes stress. And if we realize that there is no legislation of what should be shared in a relationship, I think it's between the couple to decide and reach a comfort zone. I think a lot of the problem is also happening because there is a textbook kind of notions of feminism. I'll give you an example. For once, we were in America, and I was ironing Javed's kurta, and this girl walked in and looked at me in horror and said, "You call yourself a feminist and you're ironing his kurta?" I said, "What has that got to do with feminism at all? I'm ironing his kurta because I want him to wear a nice, well-pressed kurta. He would be very happy not to wear an unironed kurta. It's my desire. You can't equate it with feminism." So I think there's a lot of confusion there. And because we're in a position of transition, it is a space that needs to be negotiated. And I'm very happy that with the younger generation, I'm seeing, particularly like when I see my son, Farhan, he really takes on a lot of the parenting. And I think really for working women, for women who have ambition, for women who want career options, the one stumbling block becomes the choice, the hard choice that she has to make, which is, I'm a mother and I have to sacrifice 5 to 7 years of my career. Why? Why do you have to do that? Why can it not be something that husband and wife do together? I think it's a question that each one of us need to answer for ourselves and how we've raised our children.
Absolutely.
This kurta story has reminded me of one little incident. One day Shabana came home and she was really very tired, and she said, "I have acute pain in my legs. What is happening to me?" So I said, "All right, I'll press your legs." And I was pressing her legs. And I told Shabana, suppose the door opens and somebody enters. However, I emphasize, repeat, swear, take an oath, put my hand on some holy book. I don't do it every day. That person will not believe it.
Well, actually, this brings me to my second question. Very similar, Shabana, to what you just addressed to. In today's world, people are multitasking. They become doctors to their sick children. They are teachers. They are nurses to their aging parents. They also are hosts to a perfect party. And in the middle, of course, they have also to post in the social media. So your life, Shabana, is multifaceted. I mean, like you live a life, you're wearing so many hats at a time. How do you perfect yourself in every role you play? I mean, is it important to prioritize, or how do you, get through a 24-hour day?
Firstly, I think this notion of the superwoman is too taxing. I don't think anybody should aspire to be a superwoman or a superman. Why? Because I would imagine that in order to be a whole human being, you should be part man and part woman. And that should apply to both man and woman. So why is there a certain notion of what the superwoman does? that notion comes from us ourselves, in the way we've been raised, in the way we've seen our mothers looking after the house, balancing a career, looking after children, all of that. So really, I think it is about prioritizing. It is also about delegation. And what I have developed is something that I learned as an actor at the Film Institute, which is a concept of public solitude. You see, what happens for an actor, and particularly in films, it's perfectly possible that I am doing a very intense scene in which a particular tear is to drop from my eye on a particular dialogue. And there are 5,000 people watching and hooting and whistling and doing everything. So I have to gather my focus in what is called public solitude, which is the ability to shut out all else and concentrate and focus only on what is required. In the beginning, when I got married, I used to constantly worry about, is Javed getting enough to eat? Is the house being looked after properly? Are the staff doing what they were trained to do, etc.? And then it was very, very tense to do that. And then I just said that all of us are adults, and I am here to do this, and I'm going to concentrate only on this. And I switch off. I really do switch off, because that's the only way I can exist. So I think if you can have this concentric circle of concentration around you, in a way it's what the Mahants do with yoga and meditation, and the ability to filter down and focus to the bare essential. I think that helps.
In fact, I was seeing an interview of yours where you were so stressed that those curtains weren't getting changed. And then I think Javed suggested, why don't you just change it? Why don't you just prioritize? So, so that was interesting. So, I'm going to ask this question later, Javed sir. Today, we have amongst us, Javed sir, Shabana, a lot of corporate heads and people who run their own businesses. All dealing with people and managing people is a very big challenge today. Being a doctor, I'm concerned about a lot of early burnouts, stress, high deadline pressures leading to addictions, be it substance or digital. So what, in your opinion, should change?
I really wonder if they need my opinion. I think they are doing well. But after saying that, let me start from the last question that was asked about multitasking. I think we tend to exaggerate or overemphasize on this matter of multitasking or playing multiple roles. All of us are playing multiple roles anyway. You are a professional, you are a parent, you are brother, you are sister, you are somebody's progeny, you are a neighbor, you are a member of a club, and sometimes you're a member of a political party, and so on and so forth. So these are different roles that you are playing. Everybody does. What happens that when people are high profile and they are doing 2-3 things, so we start counting, oh God, it's a long list. But the fact is, if you take an average person, that person playing many roles and rather competently, that person is juggling more than 5 balls, I suppose. Coming back to what we call nowadays stress bursting. I mean, it's wonderful to be focused, and we cannot achieve anything. It's a very competitive world. Obviously, we cannot reach anywhere without focus, persistence, persuasion. But we should see to it that in this pursuit, we don't turn into what in Sanskrit is called Koop Manduk. Now, Koop Manduk means a frog in a well. We shorten our canvas. This is bad. That can be tiring, that can be boring, that can be monotonous, and that can cause stress. As long as, let's take traditional plays, or Nautanki, or Ras Leela, they would take an epic. So your main effort is an epic. But at the same time, after a while, they would put a light-hearted scene. There used to be a jester, a comedian, to break the stress of the drama. I think we have to see to it that how, if we are really involved, if the job that is in front of us really very challenging, we have to have these breaks. And these breaks should not be taken like medicine. That won't work. That, oh, it's a good idea. From tomorrow I'll take 3 breaks in a month. That won't work. It can only give you solace. It can only de-stress you if you're really interested in it. Anything that interests you cannot stress you. And as a matter of fact, the more things interest you, the more interesting the life is. Whether sports or literature or music or dance or whatever. But if we have other hobbies which really we enjoy doing, as a matter of fact, sense of humor is not for light moments. Sense of humor is for bad times. You don't have your shock observers.
I think that was a very good one.
You don't have shock observers in your car for a smooth road. If all the roads are smooth, you won't need them. They are for the bumps and potholes. So you will be able to take it. I suppose we need certain objectivity while we are, life is a game. We are playing it and we better play it well. But at the same time, and nothing is the end of the world. If we could not do it now, we'll do it again, because we only get defeated when we give up. And hobbies, friends, banter, light-hearted conversation, music, literature, cinema, these things are must. You, whatever gives you happiness, maybe a football match, maybe going for a concert, whatever. But I suppose we have to have the spectrum large, so that monotony that turns into almost a deadly stress will be broken.
Would you like to contribute? How to bust these stress busters, how to break?
For me, the biggest stress buster is to be surrounded by friends and family. And my idea of a perfect day is when I have a whole range of generations. So from a 1-year-old child to a great-grandmother, everybody together, and lots of laughter and lots of conversation and lots of food. Getting together with family and friends without any agenda is something that I think really helps me. And actually, Javed is my greatest stress buster. I tell you why, because he's completely mad. You know, he has this image of this social commentator and somebody who's so serious, and of this serious poet. And anything I'll say, he'll make it into something else. I'll give you an example. He was having soup and he was dropping it on himself. So I said, Javed, agar is tarah giraoge, to kaise tum khaoge? So you know there's a song, Abhi na jao chhod kar ke dil abhi bhara nahi. So he said, Jo itna tum giraoge, to phir kya jadoo? तो सूप कैसे खाओगे ये दाग क्या है जदू समथिंग ये दाग अगर धुला नहीं तो साबुन इस पे घिस दिया or something right there. He made it up right there. Or then I'll tell you, there's a friend of mine who is very fond of eating. तो उनके लिए उन्होंने मोटों का एंथम बनाया. मोटा रहूं फूलू फलूं अपने बदन में मुझको मजा आता है मच्छी में मटन में. So this kind of rubbish he does all the time, and then he dances and he imitates and he does all kinds of things. So he's very funny.
By the way, sir, I have written the anthem of your institute also.
How?
Yeah.
Oh, David.
Yeah.
Really?
In Dehradun.
In Dehradun, okay. Okay, the army.
IMA.
IMA ka, Indian. Okay.
I think next time we go, we must check it out at IMA. So, okay, so that's the story of the soup and the song behind it. So, Javed, when are we going to hear that song?
At the spur of the moment.
I'm kidding. So now the next question I think is very, very pertinent here. Today we see a lot of men and women competing to be on the top. Competing, working hard, all are striving very hard, and there is a lot of pressure to stay in their positions. And as a result, a couple's time is getting crunched, hence causing a strain on their relationship. So it kind of causes an imbalance.
May I say something? I don't like this word competition particularly, although it is a competitive word. You are actually competing with yourself. Who are we competing with? I am not willing to give this honor to anybody that I decide that I'll compete with this person. I want to compete with myself. I want to be better than what I am. And why? Because I have certain self-respect and self-esteem, and I feel that if I am doing something, it better be good. And that satisfaction, that pursuit of excellence, which obviously I'll never get, but if we pursue, we'll reach somewhere. That should be with us. If we start thinking so-and-so has reached there, so I must be one up on that person, then we will never be happy with ourselves. Because one so-and-so will always be ahead of you. Our competition is with ourselves, stretching ourselves. I go to many schools, colleges, talk to children. This desire to be excellent. Why should we be excellent? You know, when we start anything, we have certain desires like we want to believe that we are capable of doing something. We want certain appreciation from our peers. We want certain respect in the society. We want certain reward, certain award. By the time you are very good, you get everything. When you become a test player, you get everything. Why should you become Tendulkar or Bradman? What makes somebody Tendulkar? Competition? No. Bradman or Milkha Singh? No. He has excelled. What makes him so exceptionally good? It is not competition. It is high self-esteem. They say I am very good. They have appreciated me. They have rewarded me. My peers have patted my back. None of them knows that I can be better. I know it and I'll do it. You become excellent not for competition. You become excellent not for your peers or the world. Nice. You become excellent for yourself.
Nice, very nice.
In fact, this was very interesting because I was, David and I were having lunch with Javed Saab, and very nicely I asked him that, Javed Saab, I've read so much about the Sholay success story, and I've, enjoyed reading it, seeing it. So tell us how it was. I wanted to hear it from the horse's mouth. So I was like, so tell us what was the experience of the Sholay journey and how did this all start? And he kind of just swept me off my feet. He just said, why? Because that was another person who wrote Sholay. There was totally another individual who did it. And I don't even recognize that person. Today I'm somebody else. And I was so fascinated by his answer because most of us, we revel in our past glory that we did this, we did that. But he said, no, that's another facet. That's gone. That was another individual. And Javed, I was really impressed.
Thank you very much.
Half the time I was very scared when I was talking to him because the moment I would complete a sentence, he would end with why, what, so, and then I'm like, who's asking the questions here? So, anyway, we go on to our next question. Everybody, this is, I think, very pertinent to my audience here. Everybody is trying to have a life that is better than their parents had for them. We see that in your lives too, as very successful individuals. How do you raise children who are grounded, gracious, giving, and are solid, who have access to everything?
You see, what is the definition of access to everything and what is everything? I mean, we have come from a deprived society where somebody has a house, a car, a telephone, a television, a refrigerator, a microwave. That person has everything. What a pity. I mean, in any developed society, these things are taken for granted. Nobody says, wow, I have made it because I have a car. Nobody says it. So what is the definition of everything? You see, what we call, we started, my generation perhaps was not born in affluence. We were middle class people, most of us, and we had this definition of everything. But our children have a different definition of everything. This is not everything for them. This is like when we were breathing oxygen, did we say, we have everything? We have oxygen. When we had sunlight, oh wow, we have sunlight. We took it for granted. Same way, I think this generation should take these comforts. These are not even luxuries. These comforts for granted.